Salil, I want to talk about the big Air India deal. Congratulations. Boeing has inked that landmark deal along with Airbus. 220 planes is what Boeing will be supplying to Air India. But there's an additional top-up. So you are likely to supply 70 more aircraft. What's the deal with that?
Well, so when we have large airplane orders, we always give our customers flexibility to top that up as their needs evolve over time. Look, the Indian market for aviation is going to grow leaps and bounds. We forecast 2,200 airplanes to come into the Indian market over the next 20 years. And so with all of our customers, we want to give them a little bit additional flexibility to upsize their order when it's the right time for them to do so. And so that's what that's about.
Okay, so on the aviation side, Air India, 220 planes, that's a massive order that you've inked, and you said that 2,200 planes will be added on. That's the expectation and the estimate over the next 20 years. Any constraints that require redressal at this point in time to ensure that the opportunity in the commercial space continues to hold up?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that we as an airplane OEM do is we're only successful when our customers are successful, right? So some of the things that we've announced over the past few weeks after the announcement of that deal is, of course, the logistics center to make sure we have parts here in India, the customer support center to make sure our customers can receive the technical support they need from the region as opposed to having to call, Seattle or California all the time. Those are the kinds of things that we do to further buttress the world-class technical people that we've had on the ground here for years. But from a standpoint of the overall market growth, I think everyone will say it's maximizing the growth of infrastructure here. Because what's going to happen, we had 140 million air transport passengers per year before COVID, and now we're getting back to that figure and surpassing that figure. If you look at airport infrastructure, it's not too far above that number already in terms of what it can handle. And so that's why the government's initiative to double the number of airports and aerodromes is critical to enabling the delivery of those 2,200 airplanes over the next 20 years. And in addition to building the physical infrastructure, we have to optimize how we use the airspace, how we integrate it with defense, how we integrate it with drones and UAVs, the unmanned vehicles that are going to be coming up, and make the most of the infrastructure we have. It's only if we do that that we will be able to actually take those airplanes that we expect to come in.
Sunil, what's the aspiration now? It's from the last 20 years to where you are today, you've managed to build a 10,000 plus crore rupee company at this point in time. What's the target that you've set for yourself over the next few years?
Well, normally I do not set targets in terms of numbers because I think you're restricting yourself whenever you do that. But the vision is now that we want to be in the top 5 EMS companies globally, which would mean, setting up large capacities, world-class infrastructure, and focusing on efficiencies and Industry 4.0 processes and huge scale over a period of time. And I'm confident the way India is going, the kind of policies that we have in place, I think it's just a matter of time that India becomes the next hub for manufacturing, and Dixon is there in the top 5 companies globally.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck with that aspiration. But what about brands made in India for the world? How far are we from that?
Yeah, I think I remember reading an article recently, an editorial, that we do not still have brands which can be known as global brands, right?
Yeah.
Where are those brands and how are they going to come about? But I think if you look at the history of brands which came out of, let's say, countries like South Korea and Japan, these brands initially focused on being the brand behind the brand, which is being an electronic manufacturing as a service, right? And I talk about large brands, which you see now in India, the Korean brands and the Japanese brands. So what they did was, they focused on building a large scale. Then they focused on designing their own products, and then putting that money behind the brand. So I think we are at that stage now that we see a lot of companies now coming out in the EMS space. It's also encouraging that the financial sector has taken note of that. Last, I think 2 years, there have been 5 IPOs which have come in our sector. Yeah. So that scale is being created, that money is being spent on a component ecosystem, that money is being spent on design-led manufacturing. So I'm very confident that a few Indian brands are going to rise in our sector, which are going to be global in times to come. And I think we see Some brands already have that aspirations. But I think some of the mistakes that were made, if we look at, let's say, 15 years back, we had great brands. Yeah. But probably they did not really invest too much into their own design in the ecosystem, which led to the downfall. But I'm sure now we've learned from our mistakes. Those mistakes are not going to be repeated. And very soon, we'll have Indian global brands.
Very soon, we'll have Indian global brands, and hopefully, course correction that has been made, investment in R&D and IP will have to be part of that. Santosh, India today, one of the fastest growing markets, or is in fact the fastest growing market for Mercedes?
Yeah, it's the fastest growing market for Mercedes. Last year and this year, again, we expect double-digit growth.
And how many launches do you have lined up for 2023?
10 launches this year.
And on the electric mobility side, how big of that is going to be a play here in India?
Well, we were the first to launch a luxury EV in India, locally produce it. So we are fully committed on the localization of EVs for this market. We feel the consumers are ready for electric vehicles. It's about what kind of suitable products we can give to the market. We are committed to launch another 4 EVs in the next 12 to 18 months in India.
Okay, so 10 launches expected. Salil, I'm going to get wrap-up comments from each one of you. And let me start by asking you, in terms of sourcing from India for Boeing globally, that has been on an upward trajectory. Where do you see that over the next 5 years?
So I think, we're over 8,000 crores today. We don't have a number in target. What we have is a capability target, right? And that capability is both what we're doing and how we're doing it. I've already talked about what we're doing in terms of taking it up the value curve. But equally important is how we're doing it. And for example, that means continuing to skill the folks that are doing our work here, and that includes focusing on diversity. We have a factory in Pune with one of our partners where we have an assembly line for electrical components, which is 100% women. And it's just done to prove the point that that is possible. And it's things like that that we'll continue to do here.
Well, a factory with 100% women on board, that does deserve a round of applause. And I hope that we do see much more of that. And I think that is also going to be, one of the things that we need to focus on as we build out the manufacturing story. Sanjeev, where do you believe we will find the sweet spot at this point in time? You've got your fingers across 20 different sectors, 20 different verticals. Where do you believe that the one thing where we really do have the strongest advantage today?
Well, in country, as I said, all the market segments are expanding. And since the sophistication of demand in the market is high and the consumers are asking for a high quality products, so that is deepening the supply chains. And with that, our operations are also getting more sophisticated, more automated. So that becomes kind of a world-class operation by standards. So what happens is that automatically becomes very attractive from the cost point as well as the operational delivery point for the export market. So we see that by participating in a good way in the domestic market, it also opens up a gateway for the export. So I think that's a sweet spot as we see going forward.
Sunil, you talked about mega factories, but are these going to be smart mega factories? Is that going to be the aspiration?
No, absolutely. And I think this journey has just started. There's a long, long way to go. And we're looking forward to the time that we can do at least about $300 billion of manufacturing in India. And I'm reminded of that Shah Rukh Khan movie, which said that, picture abhi bahut baki hai mere dost. So this has just started. And I remember that saying, this famous poet has said that, no power on earth can stop an idea whose time has come. And this is definitely our time, and this is the time to make in India.
Well, apna time aa gaya, as per the panel here. Santosh, Iyer, I'll give you the final say on this panel.
No, so I just continue the Bollywood twist because it's, we have been growing up to this entire thing that hum honge kamyab ek din, and it used to be dots. I think now we can do the full stop, and now we are there, and we will go to the next level.
Hum ho gaye kamyab. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. It is India's manufacturing moment and manufacturing opportunity, and we've heard from some of the best that India has today on what it will take for us to be able to capitalize on that opportunity. Thank you very much, and we wish you the very best of luck.